So let's start with the basics of creating this website. In creating a website, you need to know three things. You need to know what a domain is, you need to know what a hosting platform is, and you need to know how you would like to be able to design your website. Let me explain what the first two are first. The domain is the name of the website in which people who want to access your website will have to type at the top of your browser. Think of it as the license plate on the car. It helps people recognize which one is your website. The host, or the hosting platform that you're using, is the middleman who helps connect your website to the internet and keeps it running 24/7 online so people can access it anytime during the day. Using the same analogy, finding a hosting platform is the same as paying for fuel, where you need fuel to regularly keep your car running. Otherwise, people might know what your car license plate is or what your domain is, but they wouldn't be able to actually go on your website. In terms of the domain, same with a license plate, you will have to pay regularly to maintain ownership of this domain. This is the same for a hosting platform, where you also have to make subscriptions in order to keep it running. But with the hosting platform, it normally charges you at a much more frequent basis, just like how you have to pay for fuel more regularly versus your vehicle registration, which is your domain. You might only have to renew it every 5 years or every 10 years. When we come to the third thing, which is how you want to be able to design, customize, or configure your website, there are two main ways. One is using the traditional way, using code. The ones that are most popular are CSS and Java, and this is where you would have to actually learn to write all the special keywords and all the punctuation in order for you to design your whole website just through text. The second one is much newer because of the explosion in popularity in people who want to make their own websites. I'm not sure what it's called, I'll put it somewhere up here, but I call it graphic design. Graphic design allows you to actually design your website, not by typing in the code and going through all the trouble of learning that coding language, but you end up designing a website the way you would design a PowerPoint, where you would have much more user-friendly features such as movable blocks and tabs that allow you to move different parts of your website around to your own liking, which is a lot more user-friendly and doesn't require all the learning that you have to do with a language. The most popular platform doing this graphical design is called Wordpress. As of some recent estimate, 43% of the biggest websites on the world are made using this platform. And this platform allows you to do many other things beyond simple blogs by having a set of features called plugins, which are additional features that you can download that are made by third-party service providers, which provide these plugins in order for you to customize them to produce functions such as having membership or being able to create your own e-commerce website, or for my case, being able to have a question bank. So after explaining to you how a website works and what you need to do in order to get it up and running, let me show you how I got about starting this process myself. Now, if you have had any experience looking at making a website, specifically using WordPress, you might have seen that WordPress by itself actually provides a service where it gives you a domain and a hosting platform as well. So you can do it all at wordpress.com. I made that mistake by thinking that if I just use wordpress.com, there would be fewer things for me to manage because I wouldn't have to have a separate web hosting platform or domain purchasing platform, and it would just be easier. This led to a lot of time wasted trying to figure out how to use WordPress when really I was using the wrong platform. And this segment coming up will explain why that is the case. So to elaborate more on what I was talking about earlier, you first have to find a website where you can buy a domain from. Then you have to find a website that is going to be hosting your website for you. And then you have to decide how you want to be able to design that website. Fortunately, most of the bigger providers nowadays provide a one-stop package for you where you can do all the domain buying and all the hosting and all the customizing on the same website. So initially, because I wanted to use WordPress, that was the thing that I really wanted to be able to learn to use, I decided it might be easier just to go to WordPress because I saw on their website that they offer services that allow you to buy your domain and host them for you as well. So I went to WordPress.com thinking that it was a WordPress that I wanted to use. It was only after I got on WordPress.com and got my dummy website where I found out that I have to pay 300 USD in order to become a business member before I could use any of the plugins that I had researched for in order for me to make that question bank. And then after doing more digging around, I realized that there was a difference between WordPress.com and WordPress.org, which although are basically the same service that are both founded by the same company, WordPress.org is actually an open source that other service providers such as GoDaddy or Bluehost, these two companies are very well known for you to be able to buy your own domain and host your website on. They also give you access to WordPress.org, which is free for you to use. On the other hand, if you did what I did and you went on WordPress.com, that would actually be a slightly different service, which I don't know the details to, but you will have to pay 300 USD a year if you want to be able to have access to plugins. And the only way that you can tell that is WordPress.com and WordPress.org is by looking at their logo color, because they have the exact same logo. WordPress.org has a black color, whereas WordPress.com has a blue one. So that's just something to take note of if anyone wants to use WordPress in the future. Make sure you use a third-party provider, just as I have done. I've used GoDaddy to buy my domain and to have them host my website as well. And they also provide me the service of being able to use WordPress.org as my website manager. So now that you know that I'm trying to use WordPress.org rather than WordPress.com, I had to go find a web hosting platform that would also give me access to WordPress.org. I decided to use GoDaddy because GoDaddy has a Hong Kong branch, I think. By the fact that you can see hk.godaddy.com at the top, it might just be a lie, but that's what I ended up using anyway because that's what I've been recommended with, other than another big hosting platform called Bluehost. The first thing I did on this website was to find WordPress because this is what I wanted to do. I'm not quite sure what these other options are. I just went straight for this. Then I had all these different plans and I just went for the cheapest one because I didn't see myself needing anything more than the most essential things. And 25k monthly users is way too much for me anyway. I just went to click to cart. And I ended up picking the 12-month term length so that I could just use 1 year to mess around with this and not have to dedicate too much money to this without knowing how certain I am whether or not this thing can actually turn into fruition. After selecting how long I want to have my plan for, I was then offered a free domain with this order. I tried a bunch of them, but the only one I could find that I somewhat liked was studymed.hk, something that wasn't too long, but at the same time had quite a clear message on what the website was about. And this is where I had to spend around 500 Hong Kong dollars to get the domain and the WordPress. Okay, now I've logged into my account with the existing domain and this is what I see. There are some advice that they have in terms of what I should do with this website, and one of these is setting up my own professional email account, which I haven't done yet. But you can see here that I have my own domain and I've set up my SSL thing, which is what helps keep my website more secure, even though I don't know the details of what that means. So now, in order to get to my WordPress, I had to go to the Manage WordPress window and go to Manage, and this will automatically link me to my WordPress when I press Edit Site. And this loads up WordPress.org. Again, the best way to tell that this is WordPress.org is that the logo is in black rather than in blue, which is for WordPress.com. And this gives me the most essential tools or settings I need to run my website. In order to be able to customize my website and give it specific features that are not just simple blogging features, I had to get something called plugins. These plugins are also the reason why I ended up having to use WordPress.org, so that I didn't have to pay the 300 USD for WordPress.com to give me access to using plugins. So in these plugins, I have two specific plugins that I needed to get. The first was called Elementor. This is one of the most well-known plugins within WordPress that allow people to really easily customize the design of their website, rather than having to learn to code CSS or HTML or Java in order for them to be able to move different objects around the display to their liking. So I had to get Elementor Website Builder and some of the essential add-ons, which are free because you can get the pro features later on by paying for them. And in order for me to have the ability to make question bank, I actually spent a lot of time reviewing different plugins because there are many plugins that provide you with what they call learning management systems, LMS in short, that allow you to create online courses where you have lessons and quizzes that help people learn whatever it is that you want to teach. The most popular ones, I think, are Wordpress, which is this, and another one called LearnDash. Now, LearnPress and LearnDash are both very popular. LearnDash is paid, whilst LearnPress is free. LearnPress, although it's free, does not have the specific features that I want in my question bank website. LearnDash might have had that, but I didn't spend much time looking at the details for the features of LearnDash because I remember that they charge very hefty yearly fees in order for me to be able to use those features. So I spent quite a lot of time looking at reviews and YouTube tutorials on what was the best learning management system plugin for me to be able to make the website with the features that I wanted it to have. And I ended up landing on something called Sensei. If you are ever interested in learning about these details, I could easily put this into a separate video. But in summary, Sensei LMS has provided me with the best features that I wanted to have. And so far, I don't have to pay anything for it.